Hello and welcome to Bounding Into Comics. My name is John Trent. I'm the founder and editor-in-chief at Bounding Into Comics. And today I got a story about Katee Sackhoff exposing her lack of knowledge about Bo-Katan when she was asked about the character's future in The Mandalorian. Sackhoff did a lengthy interview with Looper where she talked about everything from her YouTube channel, her time on Battlestar Galactica, and The Mandalorian. At one point in the interview, she was asked, "Can you say anything about what's in store for Bo-Katan going forward?" She answered, "I honestly wish that I could tell you that I knew something. I really don't know. I know where we ended, and that's all that I have. I can only use my imagination and hope that we see some pretty cool stuff, but I have no idea." It's probably because The Mandalorian has no idea what it's doing either after they fired Gina Carano. But I digress. As for what Sackhoff imagines for Bo-Katan's future, she would elaborate when she was asked, "Where would you like to see her go?" Sackhoff responded, quote, "Oh my gosh, it's hard to say because she started in a place that she wasn't necessarily on the right side of things. She thought she was. I think she's always had her people in mind, but her growth to get where she's at has been quite dramatic. When you are the second born and your sister is ruling, you never dream that you're going to have to take this job because the idea that she would no longer be with us is unthinkable, and then that happens." Before we continue any further, Sackhoff's comments here do not align with the events that actually took place in Star Wars: The Clone Wars. Bo-Katan was part of the Death Watch insurgency led by Pre Vizsla against her sister Duchess Satine Kryze. In fact, she was one of Vizsla's top lieutenants in the insurgency. That insurgency eventually teamed up with Maul and his Shadow Collective and was able to depose and imprison Duchess Satine during a coup. However, Pre Vizsla double-crossed Maul and had him and his brother thrown into prison while he assumed control of Mandalore. His rule would be short-lived as Maul and his brother Savage Opress escaped. Maul would then challenge Vizsla to a duel where he easily disarmed the Mandalorian and killed him. At this point, Bo-Katan and her followers turned on Maul, claiming they will never be ruled by an outsider. After splitting with Maul, Bo-Katan would then break her sister out of prison and sought the aid of Obi-Wan Kenobi, citing "The enemy of my enemy is my friend." She still wasn't on good terms with her sister. However, Maul would eventually recapture Satine and execute her in front of Kenobi. The idea that she wasn't dreaming of ruling is completely far-fetched, and the idea that her sister wouldn't be there being unthinkable is completely absurd given she was actively rebelling against her sister. She participated in a coup that led to her sister being imprisoned. So the idea that she would no longer be with us being unthinkable doesn't make any sense at all. Nevertheless, Sackhoff continued, "So how do you take a person who is trained as a warrior, who never thought that they would have to lead nor wanted to lead, and get them to a place where they have to lead because it's for the people?" Again, she was already a leader and she was leading. But let's keep going here. Sackhoff continued, "And I find that to be so interesting because I think that she is a warrior at heart. That's who she is, that's who she's always been, and we haven't seen that part of her yet. I want to see why she thinks she's the right ruler and how far she'll go and what that looks like." Sackhoff concluded the question saying, "Just because you think you're right and just because you think you're the right person to rule, that doesn't mean you actually are. So I want to see that struggle because if she really does care about her people, she may not be the right person. I think there are so many different places to go, so we'll have to see what those guys have in their minds." Again, this is just doesn't make any sense whatsoever if you actually watched The Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels. So as I previously mentioned, Bo-Katan was already a leader in the Death Watch. She was Vizsla's second in command. Not only that, but she was the leader of the Night Owls, an elite commando unit within Death Watch. We've seen her be a warrior quite a bit. To claim otherwise doesn't make any sense at all and just rejects what we saw in the Clone Wars. For example, after Maul killed Vizsla, it was Bo-Katan leading the loyalist Mandalorians in a civil war against him. Maul would eventually be captured by Palpatine, but he would eventually escape and made plans to retake Mandalore. In fact, he still controlled the planet through Prime Minister Almec, who was his puppet. While in the process of Maul making his return to Mandalore, Bo-Katan was leading the Night Owls and hunting him down. She would eventually track Maul to Mandalore, where she sought Republic aid to enforce a lockdown that would ensure that Maul's forces would be defeated and he would not be able to escape. Christ, with her loyalist Mandalorians and Republic forces led by Ahsoka Tano and Commander Rex, invaded the planet. They were able to capture Maul and removed Prime Minister Almec from power. Bo-Katan would eventually become the planet's regent. However, her reign would be short-lived when the Republic reorganized itself as the Galactic Empire and began a military occupation of Mandalore. Clan Saxon, led by Gar Saxon, would side with the Empire, forcing Bo-Katan to abdicate her leadership role. She would return to power after she is gifted the Darksaber by Sabine Wren and receives the support of a number of clans, including Clan Vizsla, Rook, Ren, and Eldar. She would also receive the support of Fen Rao, the last surviving Mandalorian protector. Her return to power did not come immediately, though. In fact, she initially rejected the Darksaber from Sabine, believing she did not deserve to lead the Mandalorians after she failed at being regent. Meaning what Sackhoff wants to see for Bo-Katan was already done in Star Wars Rebels and the Clone Wars. Remember, she was saying, I want to see that struggle because if she really does care about her people, she may not be the right person. They literally did multiple episodes in Star Wars Rebels showing that struggle of Bo-Katan not wanting to be the leader of the Mandalorians, and she's eventually convinced by her people to be the leader. So this is absolutely galling how someone who voiced the character for years doesn't actually know the character's story. Why would she want to retread themes and character development that have already been explored? Now, you could kind of give some leeway given the fact that she might not have been touching this character for a while, but she literally just did the Clone Wars. The final season was released in 2020, and then she's playing the character in The Mandalorian, which she did 2020 and 2021, or I guess it ended at the end of 2020. So she's been doing this character. She should have done some research and kind of remembered how the character worked. So I just, there's no excuse for not knowing this character and then answering questions like this about the character when it's just completely made up gibberish on stuff that we've already seen. It has nothing to do with the future. Like, why would you answer a question about the character's future wanting to see something that we literally just saw in Star Wars Rebels? This makes absolutely no sense. Instead, what would actually be interesting for Bo-Katan's story is seeing her rule Mandalore and rebuild the civilization after much of it was wiped out in the Great Purge. Another interesting aspect would be how she deals with the Children of the Watch, who have a radically different view of what it means to be Mandalorian than what she does. However, this is current-day Lucasfilm, and they don't know a good story if it hit them in the face, so they'll more than likely just retread what Bo-Katan has already gone through, and like Sackhoff will pretend it hadn't happened already. Remember, for Lucasfilm, canon is whatever you want it to be. My name is John Trent, and you've been watching Bounding into Comics.